Boker Tov, Shavua Tov. So we're at the bottom of 78b, Ayin Chet Amud Bet, 2 lines up from the bottom, Metiv Rav Chizda. So basically what we're going on is, Rabbi Chanina said an interesting explanation, which actually we didn't have much explanation to. The interesting explanation, Boker Tov Nisim, just starting right now.
Morning.
So I said where we left off was that.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Yeah. Where we left off was Rabbi Chanina had an interesting explanation that said that if Ashotek Amirat Mekat, so which means, let's say the wife says something, I'm never going to eat meat again, and he's quiet, and basically if his intention was that he just was quiet in order to spite her, right? So he says that even up to 10 days you could do hafara, because your intention is to spite her, and that means you really want to do hafara right away, but you egged her on and you wanted her to feel like as if her neder is a good neder, and then you want to do hafara. So if you're doing it for spite, it's up to 10 days. Now we have a lot of questions like how do you know, and so basically today's Gemara is going to disprove this opinion and basically say there's no such thing. And we're going to ask a bunch of questions on it, and the final, I'll go straight to the end. The final halacha is not like this ruling. So whatever you could have in mind, it's as the Torah says, the end of the day, and that's it. So
another question: can the husband say, "Okay, if you want to do this neder, try it for 10 days and let's see what's going on"? Right away, in the first 24 hours,
right.
Can he put like a trial time?
A trial time and then have that hafara again. Like, I don't think so. We didn't see that you could do that. It's an interesting thing. It doesn't seem like you could do that. Unless,
hours, right?
yeah, unless he makes up with her that, and maybe he makes a shtar, like a document that, okay, in 10 days you're going to go to the rabbi or the duhatara Nedarim.
Or just makes an effort right at the moment and say, okay, you don't have I'm not letting you to do this neder, but try it for 10 days.
And I say, okay, well that's okay because he did already have farah.
But you have to make a new statement to make it.
It actually a neder. Yeah. Okay.
I think it's safe.
Yeah. Okay, Zev. So we just finished the introduction before we started the daf, and basically we said, if you remember, Rabbi Chanina's explanation that if you have in mind, if you're shotek amar the mekat, if you're quiet when the wife says a neder with intention for spite, that means you could do hafara after 10 days. And basically, the Gemara today is going to say that, and we had a lot of questions on that. Remember, we had a lot of questions like, what does it mean? 10 days, how do you know it's for spite, whatever. So the Gemara today is going to basically disprove that opinion, and jumping to the final end, the final halacha is not going to be like this opinion. But let's get there. So we are at the bottom and finishing the parak today. The bottom of Ayin Chet Amud Bet, Metiv Rav Chizda. And actually, right now we're going to see a lot of summarized halachot with shtika and hafara, which is going to be very good for us. So Metiv Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda asks a question. Chomer behekem mi behefer. There is a stringency of hakama over hafara. Hakama is when the husband establishes the neder. There's a stringency with establishing the neder over hafara. Ubehefer mi behekem, and there's a stringency of hafara over hakama. Now the Gemara explains this statement. Chomer behekem. What's the stringency of hakama? What's the stringency of hakama? Says the Gemara. Next page. She'ashtika mekayemet ve'en hashtika mevatelet. What's stringent is when you're quiet, you actually establish the neder. But when you're quiet, it does not mevatel the neder. So you see that being quiet, that chomer b'hakama, it's stronger when in a situation of being quiet. Right? Shtika mekayemet ve'en shtika mevatelet. Now that we're mentioning this halacha, The Gemara tells us a few more halachot. Kayem belibo, kayam. If you're mekayem in your heart, you're mekayem the neder. It's kayam. Hafer belibo, eno mufar. If you do hafara in your heart, it doesn't count. You actually have to say the hafara. Next, kayem en yachol hafer, hafer en yachol kayem. This is kind of equal, where if you do hakama, it's over. It's established. You can't do hafara afterwards. If you do hafara, you also can't do hakama. The neder's gone. You've done hafara. So now the Gemara asks, Katani, we've learned, shashtika mekayemet. Shtika, so that was the teaching of Rav Chisda, but from here we're going to ask, shashtika mekayemet. When you're quiet, you hear a neder, it's kayam, you're quiet all the way through. Or maybe it's talking about a case of shtika with the intention to be in spite. And therefore you see that it's less than 10 days. It's right away, mekayemet. Says the Gemara, lo b'shotek amina lekayem. No, it's talking about a case of shotek amina lekayem, and you're quiet with intention to be mekayemet. That's why you were quiet. You didn't actually say hakama. You didn't say, okay, I establish your neder. You're just quiet with the intention, though, to establish it. Says the Gemara, hainu kayem b'libo, kayam. Isn't that the same as kayem b'libo, kayem, that if you're mekayem in your heart, it's kayam? And we had shtika met kayemet, and now we're saying there was another statement of kayem b'libo, that no, in my heart, you know what? I established a neder in my heart. Isn't that the same? Answers the Gemara, lo b'shotek stam. No, it's talking about b'shotek stam, and this is how that you just had a quiet. I didn't have anything in mind when I was being quiet. Shotek stam. Not that I was mekayim in my heart. I was quiet. And then the time ran out, and that's it. It's kayam. So that's the same way we answered we came out with the Gemara at the end of last Gemara. It's the same shakla batari, the same back and forth over here. So the truth is that at this point there's not a question on shotek almenat on shotek. And you want to be quiet in order to do spite. Because what was the question? The question was, you see from over here that shtika mit kayemet. Oh, maybe the shtika was in spite, and therefore you see it's not 10 days. Answer the Gemara, no, it was shotek with intention to be mekayem. So that means we're not talking about that case of spite. It's shotek amina lekayem. The Gemara says, what do you mean? Shotek amina kayem, that's the same as kayem b'libo. And so, no, it's not the same. It's talking about shotek stam. There's shotek stam, and there's kayem b'libo. So the Gemara says that this case is talking about shotek stam. Meaning right now we don't have a question on shotek amina lemekat. Shotek with to do spite, we don't have a question on it. We came in to this trying to ask on it. And you see that you're shotek, it's kayam right away. After a day, not 10 days. So no, we're not talking about that case. We're talking about shotek amina lekayem. What do you mean? It's the same as kayem b'libo. No. We're talking about a case of shotek stam. Okay, so no question yet. Let's continue. Let's see. There's going to be a few questions on it. It says the Gemara. Just take a look at the Ran a second. Let's read this Ran. Hafer belibo. The second line down on the left side. Hafer belibo eno mufar. If you do hafara in your heart, it doesn't work. Ad she'yotzi bisfatav, until it comes out of your mouth. V'nir be'enai, he says the Ran, I think to say, te'alfina la mishtika deyom shomo. We learn this, that you have to speak it out from from the fact that you're quiet on the day that you hear it, she mekayemet, that it's kayam, that means the opposite of being quiet is actually speaking up, and then it's hafara. The tama ma'imishum dekim she'avar yom shmiya v'lo hafer, since the day passed, that yom shmiya passed v'lo hafer, you didn't get rid of it. Gali da'ate adate, you revealed your mind she'urotze b'kiyumo shel neder, that you want this to be mekayem this neder. Alma kosher b'libo lekayem osagi. Therefore, anything that's in your heart, it works because the day runs out, and that's it. El deyayiv le rachmana kala yoma, but Hashem gives you that entire day lahafara to do hafara mishum de ad arva shimsha lo muchach midi sheyir rotze lekayem. Because until sunset, we don't really know if you want to mekayem. You didn't express anything. We don't know what's in your heart. So maybe later on in the day, you will be mefer. You thought about it more, whatever, then you will be mefer. But if, so we give you the whole day, but in a certain way, if you're mekayem in your heart, right? So it's kayam, but it needs to be, we need to have an expression of it to actually be kayam. V'chi amrinan hacha hafer b'libo en hafer, davka delo amar tali achli, aval hecha da'amar hachi sagi le, hachi sagi. We learned a few pages ago that if you do hafara in your heart, we said it doesn't work. But if you do, remember she says, I never want to eat meat again. And he doesn't say, I'm against that neder, but he says, eat the meat, right? So that shows that he wants to do hafara, connected with the hafara in his heart, it works. Okay, so like you have to have hafara in your heart and a little bit of a saying to show that you want to do hafara, then that would work. Okay, back to the Gemara. We are 3, 6, 7 lines down. Ashkechan chomer behekem mebehefer. We found the stringency of hakama over hafara. And we said that because you can be quiet, and that works for hakama, but quiet does not work for hafara. Behefer mi behekem minalan. Where is the stringency of hafara over hakama? We didn't speak about that yet. Where is that? Amar Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yehuda, Nish'alin al.
Yochanan?
You have it written out, Yochanan?
Yeah, Marawi Yochanan, initially.
So I have Resh Yud only.
There's a few letters right in front, so I don't know if it's...
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually written out, Amar
yeah.
Yochanan.
Yeah, Marawi.
So you have Aleph or Resh, and with the two lines Yud. In general, it's Rabbi Yehuda. Let's see on the side of here. The Bach says Amar of Yochanan.
Okay, so
Yeah.
here is like already...
They actually put it in. The Bach says Amar of Yochanan. And the Gimel over here should be for the... No, that's for the Ein Mishpat. Yeah, puts it in. I think because... So this is a Gemara that we learned in stuff Samach Tet Amud Aleph. Probably over there it says it's Rabbi Yochanan. This statement of Nish'alin... Yeah, Amar Yochanan, Nishalin al Hakem, V'nishalim al Hafer. Yeah. So you have to put Resh Yud in general is Rav Yehuda. That's what the Bach says, Amar Yochanan, Nira Be'enai, Ayin Le'el. See the Aleph in brackets? The Aleph in brackets takes you to the Hagaut Bach, and there it says Amar Yochanan. Nira Be'enai, that's what I think. Ayin Le'el, because look earlier, because this is the exact same statement we saw earlier in the name of Rav Yochanan. So you when it says Aleph Resh Yud, who has it Aleph Resh Yud in the Gemara? Do you have it also Aleph Resh Yud? Yeah.
Yes, it's
So you have it.
Mine says Yochanan.
Yeah. So therefore, it's so the Bach. It makes sense because that's the exact same quote as earlier. Okay, thank you. Says the Gemara, Ashkechan chomer behekem. We found a chumrah of hakama over hafara. Be'efer mi behekem and alan. Where is the chumrah of hafara over hakama? Amar Yochanan. Nish'alin. Here's the answer. Nish'alin al hakem ve'en nishalim al hafer. We ask on a hakama, We do not ask on a hafara, meaning if you want to undo. So like this, the wife says, "I never want to meet again." The husband says, "Hakama, I established that." Within the day, the husband could ask and go to Betin and get out of it, get out of his hakama, in order to do hafara. You could get out of it, but en nishalin hafara. If the husband does hafara, that's it. He killed the neder. Neder's dead. Neder's gone. He can't undo his hafara. So that's why there's a stringency of hafara over hakama. That hafara is so strong you can't undo it.
You can always do another nether, but not the same one.
Yeah, she can do another neder, but yeah. Metiv Rav Kahana. Now we're going to ask on, again, this concept of Mekayim Alamana Mekat, Shotek Alamana Mekat, like, is it 10 days? It should be right away. So the Gemara asks, Metiv Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana asks, he quotes the pasuk, V'ima charesh yacharish la isha. Let's read the full pasuk. V'ima, look on the side. V'ima charesh yacharish la isha miyom el yom. If the husband is quiet from day to day, ve'yakim et kol nedareya, and he establishes all of her neders, or it's called esareya, or another form of word for neders, asher aleha, hekim ota, it's established, ki yacharish la b'yom shomo, because he was quiet on the day of hearing. He was quiet. Says the Gemara, Amar Meti Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana asks, Im yacharish laisha, Gomer, b'shotek al menat lemekat hakadu medaber. So says the Gemara, maybe it's talking about shotek al menat lemekat. The husband is quiet in order to spite her, and you see it's only a 1-day thing. After 1 day, it's established. A question on shotek al menat lemekat. Says the Gemara, maybe it's talking about shotek aminat lekayem, shotek in order to establish, not shotek in order to spite. Keshehu omer ki yecherish la. Since it says at the end of the pasuk ki yecherish la, you're quiet, kind of repetitive. Hareh b'shotek aminat lekayem hakatuv medaber. You see at the end of the pasuk it says again echerish. There you see it's talk, because every word in the Torah is precious, and it says echerish. It means that has to teach me something. Why do I need to say it again? That mean that it must mean that case is talking about that echerish is talking about b'shotek amin lekayem hakatuv medaber. That it is shotek in order to establish. That's what the pasuk is talking about. Hamani mekayem im hacharesh yacharish la. What do I establish with hacharesh yacharish la? The first part of the pasuk. Veshotek amalek the mekat hakatuv medaber tiyufta. Tiyufta means therefore it's questioned. So basically what's going on over here? This pasuk, it starts off by saying v'im hacharesh yacharish. If the husband's quiet, and then it's from the whole day, whatever, it establishes the neder. But at the end of the pasuk, it says, "Asher dehekim otam ki yecherish la," because he was quiet. We already said that. So the Gemara wants to say that it's talking about two different cases. The bottom case is talking about echerish la shotek amel lekayem. He was quiet in order to actually establish the neder. So that works. So then, what's the first quiet? That first quiet is v'macharish yacharish la is shotek al menat lemekat. It must be talking about a shotek in order to spite. So if that's talking about shotek al menat lemekat, then what happens is that I have these two shoteks, charesh yacharish and echerish la, and one is teaching me shotek al menat lekayem, the other must teach me shotek al menat lemekat, and yet you see that it's only a 1-day thing. Answers the Gemara. You see, tiyufta, it's a question on Rav Chanina's law. And you see from here, even shotek al menat lemekat is 1 day, not 10 days. Asks the Gemara, v'lokim established ha b'shotek al menat lekayem ha b'shotek stam. Says the Gemara like this. Hold on a second. We have two options over here. At the end it says ki yecherish la. At the beginning it says v'im hacharesh yacharish. Two cases. you said that the two cases are shotek amen lekayem and shotek amen lemekat. Why are you saying that? Say case number 1 is shotek amen lekayem. Case number 2 is shotek stam. Quiet, not with the intention to mekayem, just quiet, with no intention. And oh, the day runs out. Too bad. It's kayam. Maybe we're not talking about shotek amen lemekat. Answers the Gemara. Krai yetiri ktivi. No. The pasuk says an extra one, meaning if you look at the pasuk, it says ki hacharesh yacharish la at the beginning. That's 2 words of charesh, quiet, and then at the end is ki hacharish la b'yom shamo. He's quiet, so that's 3 times. So why are there 3 to teach us all 3 cases? That the shotek amar lekayem is within the day, is 1 day. Shotek stam is 1 day, and shotek amar lemekat is 1 day. So this still is questioned on Rabbi Chanina, and that is established as a question on Rabbi Chanina. And the Gemara says another one. Mitiv Rava. Rava asks, also a question on Rabbi Chanina. Nadra im chashecha. If she makes a neder right before sunset on Motzei Shabbat, it's right before Shabbat ends, mefer la ad shelo chashecha. He has to do hafara before sunset. She'im lo efer chashecha en yachol hafer. Because if he does not do hafara and it gets dark, he cannot do hafara anymore. Asks the Gemara, Amai lehave keshotek amar lemekat. That's a statement. Rava quotes a Braita. This Braita we saw earlier also Ayin Vav Mubet. So if a person if a lady, because we said there's 2 opinions, either sunset or 24 hours. So according to the opinion of sunset, if she makes a neder right before sunset, you only have till sunset to do it, to get rid of the neder. Says the Gemara, why? Maybe she'll take a cut, and you have 10 days. But you see that the Gemara doesn't care about that, doesn't talk about that. If it doesn't talk about that, that means that halacha doesn't exist to Yufta. It's a question on this, again, question on Rabbi Chanina. This halacha does not exist. We don't see anywhere else that you could have. You said this 10-day thing. We don't see anything like that. And we see over here a blanket statement that if a lady makes a neder before sunset, you got to get rid of it before sunset. You got to do it before sunset. There's no 10-day thing. Next case. Another question on this. Says the Gemara, Metiv Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi asks, Yodea ani sheyesh nedarim, aval eni yodea sheyesh mefirin. It's an interesting case. This, we didn't see this yet. He says, a guy says, I know that my wife has nedarim on her. I know that she made nedarim. Aval eni yodea sheyesh mefirin. I didn't know that there is even a concept of doing hafara. The guy doesn't know. He never heard of this thing. I'm sure if you ask people that don't know, you ask them, you ever heard of a promise? Yeah, of course. You ever heard of that a husband could undo a promise of his wife in a day? Well, really? I didn't know about that. So this guy didn't know. I know that she has a neder. Says the Gemara, yafer. You could do hafara. What does it mean? You could do when? What? Look at the Ran. The Ran explains this beautifully. 6 lines down are the wide lines. Yafer. Says the Ran, Yafer betoch oto yom shelamad shehabal yachol lehafer. You could do hafara that day, that entire day, the day that you found out that you have the ability to do hafara. It's 5 years later. She says, I made a neder, I never want to eat meat. And he doesn't like, okay, she got a neder, whatever. And he, every time there's meat around, she says, I have my neder, I don't want to bring my neder. He says to her, go to Hatara Nedarim. That's what he knows. He knows Hatara Nedarim. He doesn't know Hafara Nedarim. And then one day he finds out, he comes to the Gemara Shiurs. What? There's Hafara Nedarim in the world, right? So I didn't know this. Rabbi, what do I do now? So you just found out now? Yes. Halacha is, you go. You have till sunset. It looks early, 7:30 in the morning. You're lucky. You found out early. You have till sunset to get rid of the neder. So he goes home. He says, honey, all those meat things, you're out. Right? So it's amazing. The Ran says the day that you, even though it's 5 years later, the day you find out, then that's the day. Continues the Ran. Yahu Yoma, that day, Havale Ledide, Yom Shmiyah. It's for him the day that he heard the neder. It's as if today's the day he heard the neder. Because only then did he know of this concept of hafara. Aval ad hashta, but until now, lo. No, because you didn't know anything. De lo mikri yom shmiyah, ela keshe yodea dine hafara. It's only called yom shmiyah, the day that you know the law of hafara. You didn't know about hafara. It's not called yom shmiyah. You don't. It doesn't. We're not here to trick you. The Torah doesn't. Hashem doesn't want to trick you. Doesn't give you a 24. You didn't know about that. Too bad. No. I didn't know about this. Genuinely didn't know. You know about it now. Now you have your day.
Okay, question. The guy learns it that day, but somehow, for example, he won't see his wife. For example, the wife is in another town with his parents, travel, whatever.
And back in the day, no communication.
Can he make effort without the wife being present?
That's a good question. Can you go to Bet Din, let's say, and do hafara without the wife being present?
Oh, I learned this. I want to do effort, but she's
There's
in.
three people here. I want to do hafara,
yeah.
making an announcement. Do hafara. That's a good question.
But she needs to know. He needs to say.
But
to her.
there's 24 hours time limit, and in this 24 hours,
She's not going to be around.
She's gonna be around,
She's
so
gonna be in,
will you lose your right to have her?
Can you do hafara not in front of her? That's a good question.
You can let her know, like I did this. Good. You know.
That's a good question. Because when you hear, in general, when she makes a neder, she's right there. You're right there in front of her. You hear it, and then you know about it. You know about the neder. You could, you know your wife's travel plans. You know that okay, maybe she's traveling today at 3 p.m. So I'll make sure to do that for her before. But here, you don't.
You'll learn 5 years later.
That's a good question. I don't know.
There's nothing that says that she has to be present.
Right.
Yeah.
But how would she know? Because if she
Maybe
When she comes back, she's told.
yeah.
Yeah. And until then, neder might be still effective because she doesn't know that there is an affair.
No, I don't know if neder is effective. Like, let's say you do have, if this works, I do think it works if you do have her not in front of her. I remotely have something in my mind that we learned about this. Let's say it works. Let's say she says, I never want to meet again. And then you only find out what is hafara now. So you tell 3 people, you tell Bet Din, you tell a rabbi, I'm doing hafara, I'm making an answer, I'm doing hafara on that neder. She doesn't know about it. Let's say she breaks her neder of eating meat. I don't think it's a violation of the neder because you've already undone it right now.
Okay.
Like you've undone the neder.
So the answer is not yet. Like like somewhere here.
I don't know.
Somewhere here.
Maybe. It's a good question. I'm gonna write it down.
So
Check it
summary
out.
of the lesson: Kahana was right, and he was still right.
What?
My understanding of the
Kahana-
lesson:
Kahana
Kahana was
Tadak.
always right.
Shouldn't there be like a letter for Alachai if this is the case? That when you learn about a
Right,
Farah,
a
you
later-
can do a Farah?
Let's see page Zayin Amud Bet. We're going to see this concept of when you learn about it on page Zayin Amud Bet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe it's. Yeah, there is a halacha there. It's a Mishnah. Yodea ani sheish nedarim, but any yodea sheish mefirin.
Okay.
Yeah, fair. So maybe in this Gemara it's going to talk about. It's not in front of her. You don't know.
I feel like we passed it. We already
We spoke about this.
spoke about it.
Okay. Good question. Okay, let's go back. So, Metiv Rav Ashi, we are 6 lines up from the end of the parak. Asks Rav Ashi, Yodea ani sheish nedarim, אבל אין יודע שיש מפירים. I know that my wife has nedarim. I didn't know this concept of hafara. Yafer, you're allowed to, if from that day you find out, 5 years later even, it works. You could do hafara till the end of the day. Yodea ani sheyesh mefirin, about any yodea shezeh neder. The guy says, I know hafara. I learned Masechet Nedarim. I know it's a cause of hafara. I didn't know that this is called a neder. Well, my wife said, I didn't know that's a neder. I know about Nedarim, but I didn't know that this is called a neder. Rabbi Meir Omer, lo yafer. No, you don't have hafara rights now. Meaning, only now I found out that she said is a neder. I didn't know that that's a neder. So Rabbi Meir says, no, you can't. There's no hafara. You must have known that it's a neder. You can't. What does that mean? You don't know it's a neder. Chachamim or yafer. Chachamim say it works. You could do hafara today. You really didn't know that what she said meant a neder. You could do hafara. Right? Or, see, the Ran says, if you look at the next Ran where we left off, about any yodesh is a neder. What does it mean? I didn't know it's a neder. Shezeh min nedarim she'abal mefer. He didn't know it's of the nedarim that a husband could mefer. We also said a machloket. Is it all nedarim husband can mefer, or is it nedarim only bena between husband and wife? Let's say he thought that it's only stuff between husband and wife, and really this is something that's not in that jurisdiction. So I didn't know I could mefer it. I didn't know. I know it's a neder. I didn't know it's a neder that I could be mefer. So Rameir says, too bad. Chachamim omrim yafer. You could do hafara. Says the Gemara, ve'amai. Why? Let this case be talking about a case. The guy was quiet in order to spite her. Therefore, he has 10 days. What does it mean that you can't be mefer? Maybe according to Rabbi Meir. What do you mean? That it's shotekam and the mekat. Maybe that's the case. He was quiet in order to spite her. Says again, you see from here that it's not talking about that case. We bunch it all together. There's no such thing as 10-day thing. It's all one day, and therefore tiyufta. It's a question on Rabbi Chanina that this concept of 10 days for shotekam and mekat that is not that is questioned. It ends up being that we have 3 tiyuftas on Rabbi Chanina's explanation, and Rabbi Chanina is knocked out, and therefore in all cases, it's only Yom Shomo that day. Let's look at the Ran at the bottom, the last 2 lines of the Ran before the new Perek. Hilkach Naktinan. See the last 2 lines before the Perek in the Ran. Hilkach Naktinan. Therefore, we take the halacha. The shotek amena lemekat, person that's quiet with intention to spite, kistam, is like a regular quiet guy that he hears the neder, he's quiet. He's only allowed to do the hafara on the day of the shmiyah, only that day. Veshotek al menat lekayem lealtar. If he's quiet, now the Ran says another chidush. If a person's quiet with intention to be mekayem right away, we'll have to see how you know, but his intention is to mekayem right away. Shuv eno yachol ha'afer va'afilu b'bayom. He cannot do hafara even that day. He can't do hafara because he was mekayem already. And that's like before kiyem belibo. Second line down from the top, kiyem belibo is kayam. It works. The kiyem belibo it's like a hakama. How does kayem belibo? How do we know it's kayem belibo? And if you look at the Ran on the second line of the top, all the way back to the top of the page, Kiyem belibo, top line actually, Kiyem belibo kayam she'en tzarich le'otzi b'sfatav. You don't even have to say anything. It's kayam. So maybe the guy's honest with the rabbi, or he says, you know what, I was actually mekayim in my heart. So let's say that she says, I never want to meet again. And he's quiet. 2 hours later, he says, you know what, I'm thinking of doing hafara. She says, well, why were you quiet? You heard me say it. He says, oh yeah, the truth is, in my heart actually, you know what, let me give it to her. I'll be mekayim as my heart. Now I'm changing my mind. Oh, kayim in your heart? Kayim in your heart is kayim. Hadran alach nahara meurasa, hadran alach nahara meurasa, hadran alach nahara meurasa. In this perek, nahara meurasa, come back to us, B'shat Hashem. And tomorrow night we will start the new perek, new and final perek of Nedarim. Unbelievable. So yeah, another 12 dapim to go. So if you make the calculation, we'll end the recording here.